The night air carried a chill as Dr. Elena Martinez stepped out of San Lucas Hospital after her grueling 16-hour shift. That's when she saw him. A massive white dog, curled up beneath the bench near the emergency entrance, his muscular body shivering against the cold. Their eyes met for just a moment before the dog tucked his head down, as if ashamed to be discovered. Dr. Martinez approached slowly, but the dog wouldn't let her touch him. She noticed the worn collar, the ribs showing through his once powerful frame, and the way he kept glancing toward the hospital doors. That's when she broke down, tears streaming down her face as realization dawned. This wasn't just any stray. This dog was waiting for someone. Before we continue, if you enjoy heartwarming stories about the incredible bond between animals and humans, make sure to click that subscribe button. This is the best way for you to support our work. Thank you very much, and let's continue. 6 months earlier, Miguel Suarez was the picture of health. A retired firefighter who spent his days hiking the foothills surrounding the small town of Valle Hermoso with his loyal companion, Dante, a 5-year-old Dogo Argentino he had raised from a puppy. The two were inseparable, a familiar sight to locals who often saw them traversing mountain trails or sitting together at the local cafe, where Miguel would sip coffee while Dante watched the world go by at his feet. Miguel had rescued Dante from a neglectful situation when the dog was just 8 weeks old. The Dogo Argentino breed, known for its loyalty and protective nature, had formed an unbreakable bond with Miguel. Dante slept at the foot of Miguel's bed every night, followed him from room to room during the day, and seemed to understand his owner's every word and gesture. That dog isn't just a pet, Miguel's daughter Sofia would tell people. He's my father's shadow, his protector, his best friend. The bond between the two grew even stronger after Miguel's wife passed away 3 years ago. In the depths of his grief, it was Dante who pulled Miguel back from the edge of despair, forcing him out of bed each morning with insistent nudges and demanding walks that gradually reintroduced Miguel to the world of the living. But life has a way of changing in an instant. On a crisp autumn morning, while chopping wood behind his modest home, Miguel felt a strange sensation in his left arm, a tingling that quickly spread to his chest. The pain came suddenly, crushing and overwhelming. As he collapsed to the ground, it was Dante who raced to his side, barking frantically, licking his face as Miguel struggled to remain conscious. Sofia, who had been visiting that weekend, heard the commotion and rushed outside to find her father on the ground, with Dante standing over him protectively. The dog moved aside only when she approached, his eyes never leaving Miguel's face. "Call an ambulance," Miguel gasped, clutching his chest. "I think it's my heart." The ambulance arrived within minutes, sirens wailing as paramedics rushed to stabilize Miguel. As they loaded him into the vehicle, Dante attempted to jump in alongside his master, barking desperately when the paramedics gently pushed him back. "He can't come with us," one of them explained to Sofia. "Hospital regulations." Sofia tried to hold Dante back as the ambulance pulled away, but the dog's distress was palpable. She howled, a sound so full of anguish that it sent chills down her spine. When she finally released her grip, thinking he would run after the ambulance, Dante surprised her by sitting, watching until the red lights disappeared around the corner. "He'll be okay, boy," Sofia said, kneeling beside the dog and wrapping her arms around his powerful neck. "Dad's strong. He'll come back to us." But Miguel's condition was more serious than they initially thought. What had seemed like a straightforward heart attack was complicated by a congenital defect that had gone undiagnosed for years. He would need surgery, doctors explained, and an extended hospital stay for recovery and monitoring. Sofia brought Dante home and tried to establish a routine, but the dog refused to eat, spending hours staring out the window in the direction of San Lucas Hospital, located on the outskirts of town, nearly 2 miles away. On the third night after Miguel's hospitalization, Sofia woke to find Dante missing. After hours of searching and calling his name, she received a call from the hospital. "There's a large white dog sitting outside the main entrance," the night security guard told her. "The caller says Dante. Isn't that your father's dog?" Sofia drove to the hospital immediately, finding Dante exactly where the guard had described, sitting patiently by the entrance, his gaze fixed on the sliding glass doors as if expecting Miguel to walk through them at any moment. "How did you even know where to find him?" she asked the dog as she clipped a leash to his collar and led him reluctantly to her car. The next night, despite Sophia's precautions, double-checking locks and even blocking the doggy door, Dante disappeared again. And again he was found at the hospital entrance. His pattern continued for days, then weeks, with Dante finding increasingly ingenious ways to escape and make the 2-mile journey to maintain his vigil. Eventually, Sophia accepted the inevitable. She spoke with the hospital administration, explaining the situation and asking for special consideration. Though sympathetic, they couldn't allow a dog on the premises. Health regulations were clear. The best they could offer was to allow Dante to remain in the small garden area near the entrance, provided he didn't cause any disturbance. And so began Dante's nightly ritual. Each evening, after spending the day at Sophia's house, he would make his way to the hospital as darkness fell. He would curl up under a bench near the emergency entrance, his eyes rarely closing, watching everyone who entered or exited. Hospital staff began to recognize him, some even bringing him water or the occasional treat, though he accepted both with only minimal interest, his focus unwavering from his self-appointed task. Miguel, meanwhile, remained unaware of his faithful companion's vigil. His condition had stabilized following surgery, but recovery was slow. The doctors kept him in an induced coma for the first week, and after he regained consciousness, he was too weak and disoriented to ask about his dog. Sophia visited daily but chose not to mention Dante's behavior, not wanting to give her father one more thing to worry about. As weeks stretched into months, Miguel's health improved incrementally. Physical therapy began, painful sessions that left him exhausted but gradually stronger. Through it all, he asked about Dante every day, his face lighting up when Sophia shared photos or videos of the dog. "He misses you terribly," Sophia would say, carefully omitting the nightly vigils. "He perks up whenever I mention your name." What Sophia didn't tell her father was that Dante was losing weight, despite her best efforts to tempt him with his favored foods. The once muscular dog was becoming gaunt, his ribs visible beneath his white coat. The local veterinarian could find nothing physically wrong with him. "It's grief," the vet explained. "Dogs can experience depression just like humans, especially when separated from someone they're deeply bonded with. The bond between your father and Dante is exceptionally strong." For months into Miguel's hospitalization, as winter set in, Dante's condition worsened. He began to refuse food entirely some days, and his once pristine white coat became dull. Yet still, each night, he made his journey to the hospital, maintaining his vigil despite his weakening body. It was during one particularly cold night that Dr. Elena Martinez noticed him for the first time. Having recently transferred to San Lucas Hospital from the capital, she was unaware of the local legend that Dante had become. Seeing what she assumed was a stray dog shivering in the cold, she approached cautiously, only to have Dante shift away from her outstretched hand. Concerned, Dr. Martinez mentioned the dog to a nurse as they began their shift the next morning. "Oh, that's Dante," the nurse explained, her expression softening. "He's been coming here every night for months. His owner is a patient here, Miguel Suarez, room 317. Heart condition." Intrigued, Dr. Martinez pulled Miguel's file. His case was complex but progressing well. According to the notes, he would likely be discharged within the next few weeks, once his final round of physical therapy was complete. Nowhere in the file was there any mention of a dog sleeping outside the hospital every night, waiting for his return. That evening, as her shift ended, Dr. Martinez brought a blanket and some high-quality dog food to the bench where Dante kept his vigil. The dog watched her approach but didn't retreat this time, his dark eyes seeming to assess her intentions. "Hello, Dante," she said softly, placing the blanket on the ground beside him. "I'm Dr. Martinez. I'm helping to take care of Miguel." At the mention of his owner's name, Dante's ears perked up, and he lifted his head slightly. "He's doing better," she continued, encouraged by this response. "He's getting stronger every day." Slowly, cautiously, she extended her hand. This time, Dante sniffed her fingers briefly before allowing her to place the blanket over his shivering form. He didn't touch the food, but he didn't reject her presence either, which she took as a small victory. The next day, Dr. Martinez made a point of visiting Miguel during her rounds. He was sitting up in bed, working through a series of breathing exercises with a respiratory therapist. Though thin and pale, his eyes were alert and engaged. After introducing herself and discussing his progress, Dr. Martinez hesitated, then asked, "Mr. Suarez, do you have a dog?" "A large white one." Miguel's face transformed instantly, a smile spreading across his features and bringing warmth to his tired eyes. "Dante, yes, he's my boy. Has been for 5 years now. My daughter Sophia takes care of him while I'm stuck in here." His smile faltered slightly. "I miss him terribly. They won't allow pets in the hospital, of course. I understand why, but—" "Mr. Suarez," Dr. Martinez said gently, "did you know that Dante comes to the hospital every night?" Miguel's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief. "What do you mean?" "According to the staff, he's been sleeping under a bench near the emergency entrance every night for months. He walks here on his own and stays until morning." Miguel's eyes filled with tears, his voice breaking as he asked, "Every night? Every night?" She confirmed. "In fact, I met him myself yesterday. He's loyal, your Dante." Miguel turned his face away, overwhelmed with emotion. When he looked back at Dr. Martinez, there was both joy and concern in his expression. "Is he okay? Is he taking care of himself?" Dr. Martinez couldn't lie. "He seems to have lost weight, and he's not eating well according to what I've heard from the staff. But physically, he's managing. It's quite extraordinary, actually. The bond between you must be very special." Later that day, Dr. Martinez approached the hospital administrator with an unusual request. After lengthy discussions about health regulations, patient well-being, and exceptional circumstances, a compromise was reached. While Dante couldn't stay in Miguel's room permanently, Dr. Martinez was granted permission to arrange a brief, supervised visit, a therapy session officially recorded as part of Miguel's cardiac rehabilitation program. That evening, after regular visiting hours had ended, Sophia brought a freshly bathed Dante to a small meeting room on the first floor of the hospital. Dr. Martinez had arranged for Miguel to be brought down in a wheelchair, his first trip outside his room for something other than medical procedures in months. As the door opened and Miguel was wheeled in, Dante, who had been lying listlessly on the floor, suddenly lifted his head. For a moment, dog and owner stared at each other in disbelief, the connection between them almost visible in the air. Then Dante was on his feet, crossing the room in 3 powerful strides, his entire body quivering with emotion as he reached Miguel's side. Miguel slid from the wheelchair to his knees, ignoring the protests of the attending nurse, and buried his face in Dante's neck, his arms encircling the dog's body. Dante whined, a high-pitched sound of pure joy, his tail wagging so forcefully it seemed his entire hind end might take flight. "You waited for me?" Miguel whispered into the dog's fur. "All this time you waited." Dr. Martinez, standing quietly by the door, felt tears streaming down her own face as she witnessed the reunion. This was medicine no prescription could provide. The pure, unconditional love that flowed between man and dog, killing wounds that surgeries and medications couldn't touch. The 50 minutes allotted for the visit stretched to 30 as no one had the heart to separate them. When it was finally time for Miguel to return to his room, he held Dr. Martinez's gaze. "Thank you," he said simply, the words carrying the weight of a gratitude too profound for elaborate expression. That night, for the first time in months, Dante didn't appear at his usual spot outside the hospital. Sophia reported that he had eaten a full meal and was sleeping peacefully at the foot of her bed, as if he finally believed that Miguel would indeed come home. The reunion seemed to accelerate Miguel's recovery. His physical therapy progress improved dramatically, his vital signs strengthened, and the persistent shadow of depression that had concerned his doctors lifted. Dr. Martinez arranged for weekly visits with Dante, each one documented as canine therapy in Miguel's file, complete with notes on the positive impact on his heart rate, blood pressure, and overall mood. 6 weeks later, Miguel Suarez walked out of San Lucas Hospital under his own power, leaning only slightly on a cane. Waiting for him at the entrance, sitting proudly beside Sofia, was Dante. His coat once again gleaming white in the sunlight, his posture reflecting the dignity inherent to his breed. As Miguel approached, Dante remained seated, restraining his excitement with impressive self-control until Miguel reached down to rub his ears. Only then did the dog allow his composure to break, rising to press against Miguel's legs with such enthusiasm that Sofia had to steady her father to prevent him from being toppled. Dr. Martinez watched from the hospital steps, her clipboard clutched to her chest, unable to keep the smile from her face, as she observed the trio slowly making their way to Sofia's waiting car. Just before they reached it, Miguel turned and raised a hand in farewell. Dr. Martinez returned the gesture, knowing that some patients leave more of an impression than others, and that this case would remain with her throughout her career. 3 months later, a package arrived at Dr. Martinez's office. Inside was a framed photograph of Miguel and Dante on a mountaintop, both looking healthy and vibrant against a backdrop of stunning mountain vistas. A note accompanied the picture. "Back on our favorite trail. Dante leads the way now, making sure I don't overexert myself. He's a better physical therapist than anyone at the hospital, no offense intended. We both wanted you to know that we're doing well. Thanks to you. Some bonds can't be broken, not by illness, not by time, not even by hospital regulations when the right doctor intervenes. Gratefully yours, Miguel and Dante Suarez." Dr. Martinez placed the photograph on her desk, where it remained as a permanent reminder of why she had become a doctor in the first place. Not just to heal bodies, but to recognize and nurture the connections that give meaning to our lives, whether they be between people or between a man and his extraordinarily faithful dog. In the years that followed, the story of Dante's vigil spread throughout the hospital and beyond, becoming something of a local legend. The bench where he had kept his nightly watch was eventually marked with a small plaque that read simply, "Loyalty teaches us the power of love. In honor of Dante, who waited," and on the anniversaries of Miguel's discharge, Dr. Martinez would sometimes spot them walking the hospital grounds together. An aging man and his faithful companion, both moving more slowly now but still inseparable, still bearing witness to a bond that had transcended separation, illness, and despair. Sometimes, in the quiet moments of her busy days, when doubt or fatigue threatened to overwhelm her, Dr. Martinez would glance at the photograph on her desk and remember the night she first spotted a loyal dog keeping vigil outside the hospital doors. It reminded her that healing comes in many forms, and that sometimes the most powerful medicine is the love that waits patiently, night after night, never losing faith that tomorrow might bring reunion. For Miguel and Dante, that faith had been rewarded. For Dr. Martinez, their story became a touchstone, a reminder of why, despite the long hours and heartbreaking losses that came with her profession, she continued to believe in the work she did. Because sometimes, when you least expect it, you step outside a hospital after a grueling shift and discover a miracle curled up beneath a bench. A miracle with 4 paws and an unwavering heart, teaching us all what it truly means to love.